guys, I'm back again too with another reaction video, and we're continuing part 1 of the American Civil War. I've gotten a lot of comments like there is some not so truth to this video, so let me know guys what video or where can we find authentic history. I don't think there will be like 100% authentic history because history get lost in translation, and different people have different like memory of how events took place. So probably we're not gonna get one side. We're never gonna get like everybody agreeing to one kind of history or background or story. But anyways, before we do start, don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Click that bell button to get notified whenever I do upload a video. Anyways guys, let's check this out.
You almost had me there. The problem for Lincoln was that many of his top generals were getting old and were being a bit too cautious. The commanding general was a man named Winfield Scott, a veteran of the Mexican-American War, and by now he was too fat.
That hair though, me gusta.
To a horse. Okay chaps, we need to come up with a plan. Hit me. We could wait for the Confederates to come and apologize. Maybe we should all sit in a circle and discuss our feelings. Crossing the Delaware into New Jersey worked for me. Those are all terrible ideas. And you? Wrong video. Hey, I'm the greatest president in the history of this nation. Yeah, we'll see about that, dingus. Eventually, Lincoln's generals came up with a multi-pronged strategy. First, a blockade would cut off and starve the South of supplies by sea. Secondly, taking control of the Great Mississippi River would sever the South's economic artery while splitting it in two. And finally, a main Union force in the east would move south and take the Confederate capital, ending the war. Bada boom, bada bing. Skirmishes began to break out across the nation, and the Union Army in the east began to move south towards Richmond. Everything seemed to be going well until they reached Manassas, where they came upon a large Confederate force. It's almost like they were waiting for us. How did they know? As it turned out, spies in D.C. had sent a coded message to the Confederates warning them.
Somebody snitched.
Did you use NordVPN? What the?
This guy is putting his ad in the middle of a freaking video, which I love because he's doing it in a, call this? He's doing it that incorporates the story. So if you don't have NordVPN, go check him out. I am not sponsored, so.
The heck is NordVPN? I'm so glad you asked.
Oh gosh.
Do you use the internet? You should hang out sometimes, so I have servers in help you stay secure. Is there some amazing content on here? NordVPN gives you, so click the link in the description.
So basically NordVPN is when you watch shows, you can like be in any country you want to be in the world except probably China because YouTube is not allowed. But like for example, you're in America and you want to watch some shows that are only available in UK, then you can use VPNs to access, and also it gives you like security with your informations and so on and so forth. So there we go, simplified. Why was I more simplified than this channel? Are we done?
Yeah. Secession, Fat Man, and the Union invasion into Virginia. The two sides encountered each other at Manassas, and both geared up for the first major battle of the Civil War, the First Battle of Bull Run. The Confederates rapidly brought in support via rail, and the two sides were about equal in numbers. However, they were also equally inexperienced. A large number of civilians also rode out by carriage from D.C. to picnic on...
The horse is going sideways. Look at this.
A large number of civilians also rode out by carriage from D.C. to picnic on the nearby hills and watch the excitement unfold. Nobody seemed to quite understand how destructive this war was going to be. The Union forces pulled a flanking maneuver to hit the Confederates on their left, and the two sides fired on each other in rows. Farm families living in the area were forced to flee the fighting, including a man named Wilmer McLean. Hurry up, Martha! There's a war out here.
Oh, gosh.
The more you tell me to hurry up, the slower I will go! The Union force saw initial success, pushing the Confederates back to Henry Hill. But one as of yet fairly unknown General Thomas Jackson had arrived, and he took a defensive position, standing firm like a stone wall, holding the Union Army off, and finally sending them running back to Washington, D.C. With heavy casualties, the sobering reality of war hit both sides hard, and the North, having just lost the first major battle, had to face the serious prospect that they may not actually win this war. President Lincoln, General Jackson whipped us so hard, the Confederates are calling him Stonewall Jackson. Wait, that's why they're calling him that? Not because he looks like he ran face first into a stone wall? Apparently not. Worse yet, the North had also lost the first major battle out west, giving away control of southwest Missouri. All of this was terrible news for Abraham Lincoln, especially since many of his generals and cabinet already didn't have much respect for him. They felt he was incapable of running a war because he seemed a bit like your friendly old grandpa. He famously loved a long-winded story and a good pun. I've been so busy, my wife is missing me.
Oh,
But our
gosh.
aim is starting to improve. But deep down, few realized he could also be incredibly shrewd. Oh, Abe, you're so funny.
I love the way they call him Abe.
Funny like I'm a clown? Abe, I was just... No, funny how? Like I'm here to amuse you? During the war, Lincoln committed acts that were viewed by some as impeachable. His administration suppressed the free media from printing articles sympathetic towards the South. Some Southern sympathizers were even arrested without a trial. Lincoln's criticizers began accusing him of being a tyrant. But to quote the man himself, hey, it's war, baby. What are you gonna do? By the end of 1861, with things already looking bad for the North, abolitionists such as Frederick Douglass couldn't believe that the Union Army weren't enlisting black men. He continued to put pressure on Lincoln to make the war about emancipation.
Of course, they weren't enlisting black people because, or men at that days, during those times, because they think that, and probably it's true, that when they get weapons, they know how to fight, they know how to use all this equipment. They're gonna, of course, how do you say this? Like, go against the military.
Mr. President, it's time to make the war about emancipation. I don't want to ruffle any feathers. The feathers are already ruffled.
Very ruffled.
Hanging on to hope for a quick end to the conflict, continued to fight only for the preservation
I want
of the
water.
Union. It was decided, however, that escaped slaves from the Confederacy could be held as enemy contraband, and many of these men were put to work bolstering the Union's infrastructure and supply lines. Hoping to get things moving, Lincoln made young General George McClellan the new commanding general, and McClellan began to train up his men. He thought a lot of himself, however, and believed he was going to be the nation's great savior. And like many others, he didn't approve of the president's handling of the war. On one occasion, Lincoln went to McClellan's house to meet with him, but McClellan was late returning home. He kept the president waiting, and when he finally got there, he just straight up went to bed.
Oh, the sass. Yes, now that's what I call disrespectful. Exactly. That was some sass. But good for him. He has balls, right?
Disrespectful.
Huge
McClellan talked
balls.
the talk, but could he walk the walk? No. Like Lincoln's other generals, McClellan was maddeningly cautious. Hey man, could you move south and attack the enemy? What? Are you crazy? What if they have a big scary army down there? They probably
Or
do.
maybe he has small
What?
balls because he's
Oh my
scared.
gosh! McClellan worried that he did not have the numbers he needed to fight effectively. What if they have like 10,000 men? Okay, no problem. We'll get you 20,000 men. Well, what if they have 30,000 men? I'll need 40. Okay,
making
You
excuses.
can have 40. Well, what if they have 50? I'll need 60. Lincoln tried, but it was all in vain. McClellan would not make a move for the rest of the year.
Just
the North's
kick
one
him out
saving
or
grace for
something.
now was a general out west fighting in Kentucky and Tennessee. General Ulysses S. Grant, cool, collected, methodical, and a big fan of whiskey. His chief of staff took it upon himself to
I don't
keep
know. I
Grant
don't
sober.
really like whiskey.
One officer said that Grant habitually wore an expression as though he were determined to drive his head through a brick wall and was about to do it. And that determination led him to score a number of key victories when
see
others
that?
around him were failing. At the Battle of Fort Donelson, Grant was like,
We need
"Why does
somebody with
Stonewall
big
Jackson
balls,
get a cool nickname
really."
and I don't? I want a cool nickname. Sir, the Confederates say they're ready to surrender and want to know your terms. No terms, just unconditional surrender. Hey, unconditional surrender Grant. That's a pretty cool nickname, right, guys?
Oh, ads.
This
I just
large
realized.
pyramidal structure.
Ads. Will go on for days.
Right? Later in April 1862, the Confederates launched a sudden attack on Grant's army at Shiloh, but the determined, unconditional surrender Grant threw his lines at the rebels and sent them running. The battle resulted in the heaviest casualties in U.S. history so far, and despite his victory, Grant found himself under fire. You have to get rid of Grant. Why?
Shibboleth.
Didn't he win? Yes, but he just threw his men at the enemy. Isn't that the point? Also, he's a loony drunk. Well, what does he like to drink? I believe whiskey, sir. Then send him.
Oh.
Lincoln walked.
What whiskey did they give?
I believe whiskey, sir. Then send him.
What is that? Is that? I have no idea what whiskeys are, anyways.
Lincoln watched as his cabinet did nothing but bicker, and his generals
Somebody
did
farted, he
nothing.
said.
But then, worst of all, personal tragedy struck. Lincoln's young son, Willie, very much loved by the president,
Oh
died
my
of typhoid
God.
fever at the age of 11. Lincoln was a sensitive man and was heavily affected by the loss. His wife, was inconsolable. But one of Lincoln's greatest traits, what made him such a great leader, was in the darkest of times, with composure and determination, he kept moving forward. He knew it was his responsibility to hold himself and his family together, and by doing so, he hoped to hold the nation together. And he had it with McClellan's in action.
That
Lincoln
was
decided
pointless.
He was going to take control. In March 1862, Lincoln firmly ordered McClellan to once again move south towards Richmond. McClellan insisted instead they move by sea to the Virginia Peninsula and attack Richmond from the southeast. Yes, said Lincoln. Okay, anything. Lincoln held on to some of McClellan's men to defend D.C. from a nearby Stonewall Jackson wreaking havoc in the Shenandoah Valley, and he sent McClellan south. McClellan landed on the peninsula, and he began to move inland. He came up against a small Confederate army that had dug in at Yorktown. McClellan vastly outnumbered the force, but it's said that Confederate General Magruder deceived McClellan by cleverly maneuvering his smaller force and making McClellan believe he faced a huge army.
Oh my god, McClellan, I can't even pronounce his name. The Mac guy, the small balls guy, or Grant, whatever. I know that's not Grant. Whatever his name is. Yeah, he shouldn't have been drinking. I don't know what he was doing with his life, but
no,
he's not the
you
one.
have way more men than them. Move forward. No. McClellan settled in for a month-long siege, giving time for Johnston to move south from Manassas.
He's
and
just
Magruder
pocketing the
time to
money.
retreat. When he finally entered the city and found it deserted, he declared it a victory, calling his success brilliant. Then, after meeting some resistance at Williamsburg, McClellan moved to within just 20 miles of Richmond. His army's able to hear the church bells ringing in the enemy capital. You still outnumber them. Go give him hell. No. McClellan once again held back, moving slowly and defensively.
I hope his strategy is gonna work though. I hope at the end it's gonna be a positive outcome, because he has been doing his own thing, and I hope it's for something huge. Like, it's gonna be worth it. We're not gonna be keeping up with him if it's not worth it, I believe, right? Let me know.
His army split in two. The Confederates saw an opportunity to strike back. McClellan's advance was halted, and now the Confederates pulled an ace out of their sleeve. General Lee, you're up. Do you think we should evacuate Richmond? No, Mr. President. No need. General Robert E. Lee, one of the most brilliant military commanders of the time, was now in charge.
Okay.
One of his biggest strengths was his ability to read the mind of his enemy, and he knew McClellan was cautious and weak. After moving Stonewall Jackson south to join him, and even though he had a smaller army, Lee hit McClellan in a series of fast-paced, close combat battles that had McClellan spooked. McClellan retreated the Union Army back again and again and again, escaping the peninsula and returning to D.C. Lee had defeated McClellan, and the campaign had failed. Well, that was a major success. A success? Tell me exactly what was successful about that. Well, we successfully retreated. You lost.
Yeah.
I didn't lose. I merely failed to win. Things just kept looking worse.
He's the
for
oblivious
North.
one,
At
huh?
least the Navy had seen some success, capturing a number of key port cities, notably when they steamrolled past Confederate forts to take New Orleans. And speaking of the Navy, both sides had begun using
Like,
ironclad-
people are sacrificing their life for this battle, and the small balls dude is not doing anything to support his men. He's not leading them to success. He's leading them to fear. I would know no better, so who am I to say, right?
Lads. So that's pretty cool. But in the East, they still weren't having any luck. After McClellan's disastrous campaign, Lincoln briefly sent out one General John Pope to
John
attack
Pope.
Northern Virginia.
Damn, that was fast.
Just checking in. How's it going? Well, the Confederates kicked my butt at Cedar Mountain. Then they raided my camp and ran off with my money and clothes. Also, I appear to have been wedgied.
That's why I was laughing.
Yet
He's
another
just
battle
hanging
at
with his
Bull Run,
pants.
in which nearby farm families
Or his
once again got caught
underwear.
up in the fighting. Hurry up, Martha! There's another war out here.
Oh God, they're
I'm
gonna bomb.
waiting for my hair to dry.
Martha.
Wilmer McLean.
Martha is the current of today's world, huh?
I'm waiting for my hair to dry. Wilmer McLean, sick of war, moved his family south, where he knew the war would definitely, absolutely, never touch him again. But Lincoln had yet another problem to contend with. European powers, in particular the UK, were looking increasingly like they may intervene diplomatically on the side of the Confederates.
They're like
They were
curious.
missing their precious supply of southern cotton because of the Union blockade, and they wanted to see a swift conclusion to the war. The tension between America and Great Britain had been increasing, especially after Confederate diplomats were discovered on a British ship. Now, after McClellan's failure to take Richmond, the UK declared it impossible for the North.
List of impossible things. Lick your elbow. Very true. Eat your own face. Very, very true. Probably a little bit false because you can literally cut it and eat it. But hey, upload a video every month. It's not impossible nowadays the North to win. North to win. I hope that's not impossible.
North to win. Lincoln needed something to prevent Europe from getting involved, and after more petitioning from abolitionists, he decided maybe the time was finally right to make the war about ending the institution he hated, slavery.
Yeah, he's
If
the
the North
president.
had a
He
noble
could
cause
just
to
like
fight for, Europe would be
declare
less
or
likely to
something.
intervene. But Lincoln and his cabinet knew before they could declare something as radical as emancipation, they
Okay, he's gonna go into it. Okay, I love that because I just said he's a president, he just declares, but it's not as easy. Yeah, sitting from this perspective, everything we see in history, it seems like, oh, if I was there, I'm gonna do this, they should have done that. We always put our suggestion, but we don't know how it was exactly during those times, so we can't really like criticize, even if that's what I was doing the whole video. So peace. I just realized like we can't say it should have been like this, should have been like this, should have been like they did this wrong, because we don't know what was going on to the T.
intervene. But Lincoln and his cabinet knew before they could declare something as radical as emancipation, they needed a victory, especially now that the Confederates were about to go on the attack. Aware that he had a limited number of men and supplies, Lee now hoped that if he could just threaten Washington, D.C. militarily, he would gain Europe's recognition and crush Northern morale in time for the midterm elections, forcing the North to negotiate. With confidence at an all-time high, for the first time, Robert E. Lee invaded the North. But on September 13th, the North finally had some luck. Oh boy, it's my lucky day. A cigar in a field. Hey, what's this wrapped around it? Oh my gosh! That's right. The North had discovered General Lee's battle plans wrapped around some cigars. And in them, they saw that Lee had split up his forces. McClellan headed out from D.C. and the two sides met in the
McClellan is
Battle
still
of
there.
Antietam, a crucial battle that would decide the course of the war. It saw the most vicious fighting to date and still remains the single bloodiest day in American history.
9/11?
But for once, the North came out victorious, and Lee was forced to retreat. He's on the run. Chase him down and finish him off.
No.
You know what, old buddy, old pal? You're fired.
It's over. It should have been over since the get-go.
Their crucial victory. Lincoln breathed a huge sigh of relief, and with that
That's
win,
how I breathe,
he was
actually.
prepared to take a huge step. On September 22nd, the Emancipation Proclamation was issued. In January, all slaves held in the Confederate States would be, as far as the U.S. government was concerned, officially free. Throughout the North, free black men and women rejoiced.
But it wasn't exactly how it was, because I think I remember it wasn't exactly how it was. Like, yes, the emancipation was there, the declaration was there, but it's still hard. It was still hardships afterwards.
Officially free. Throughout the North, free black men and women rejoiced, knowing that if the North were to win, their brothers and sisters would no longer be held in bondage. The proclamation also had the intended effect on Europe, who were not willing to oppose a pledge to end slavery. An outraged Confederacy knew that Lincoln had given the war a new meaning. It was no longer just about the preservation of the Union. Now, it was about creating a new union, washed clean of its original sin. A union without slavery.
Oh, I want to watch part 2 now. That's so... I mean, it ended on a good note, but I know there's more, like, struggles before everything was clear. I mean, like, it's 2021. There's still a lot of, like, freaking racism still. So it's not yet over. Yes, I'm so glad that the slaves were, like, we were free. I don't know how to word my word. But, yeah. This was beautiful, eye-opening. And let me know. I'm gonna react to part 2 probably like the end of the week or next week, because I want to react to other things as well. But anyways, if you like this video, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, leave in the comment section down below what other videos like to react to. The original link of this video will be in the description box down below, so it's my social media link. So guys, I'll see you in the next video. Bye.